So interestingly, the media widely reported on Friday that the Turkish President Erdogan had a rare phone call with the king of Saudi Arabia, King Salman. So as everybody knows, the two countries have been feuding pretty seriously for the last few years. Of course, there's the Khashoggi killing at the Saudi consulate in Turkey, which really probably blew everything up. But right now, there's a G20 summit going on in Saudi Arabia, not receiving too much coverage, of course, since it is virtual. But Sam, what's the latest? This is an interesting development, no?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, the fact that they had a phone call that comes after many years of animosity and opposition to each other in the region. Basically, there seems to be a brewing an ongoing conflict between Turkey and Saudi Arabia, which this year has taken off like in a more extensive way, to be honest. As you mentioned, let's just start in the beginning. Um, all these Arabic countries were basically uh, former territories of the Ottoman Empire. And since Erdogan has come to power, he's bringing back a more Islamic, Ottoman centric uh, ideology with him to the power. He's backed by mostly the population in Anatolia, for example, who are who have a much more positive view of the Ottoman Empire, and they sort of view those days as the glory days of the Turkish people and everything. And Arabs have a very negative view of that time, and in the West, it's always they think when they talk about imperialism, they are talking about European imperialism. But for Arabs and Indians, for example, they view Turks and Iranians as sort of imperialist powers as well. So, that's the underlying tension between these two countries, that, Turkey views these countries as its former territories, and they are increasingly becoming independent and powerful. At the same time, America is sort of retreating from the region slowly. And these are two countries that were both traditional allies of the US, but both are becoming increasingly independent in their foreign policy, in their domestic policy, and they are increasingly becoming powerful economically. Turkey has diversified its economy significantly. Saudi Arabia has developed its economy through oil money, developed in terms of like infrastructure, GDP, not necessarily human development, but still. So, but what are the points of contention? Where are where are the conflicts come from? The major issue of a point of contention is the fact that Turkey is close to Akhwan al-Muslimin, or Muslim Brotherhood as they're known in the West, and Saudi Arabia and its allies are very anti-Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood is kind of similar to Islamic Republic in some senses. They are anti-monarchist, but still very Islamic in their ideology. So in some ways, they do have some overlaps with Saudi Arabian monarchy, or at least the old guards. But they don't. But they're very anti-monarchy. They are very anti-establishment. They are very, very anti-America and anti-West. Their roots comes from in Egypt. Qutb was a famous writer who was tortured by the British. So they are rooted in anti-imperialism, which at the time was synonym with anti-monarchism, because the monarchies, especially the Arab monarchies, were very much supported by the British and the Americans, and some of them by the French. So, Saudi Arabia sees itself as the leader of the Arab world now, and it has its conflicts with Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, in Tunisia, in basically Northern Africa, as well as in the Gulf region, because also Qatar is viewed as a supporter of Muslim Brotherhood, just like Turkey. Um, the fact is, I don't think, to be honest, either Turkey or Qatar are that, like Turkey a bit more, but they allow for Muslim Brotherhood to exist. They don't necessarily support it as much as probably Saudi Arabia thinks. But that's why Saudi Arabia is very much anti-Erdogan because they are suspicious of him that he may have imperialistic ambitions, and they are suspicious of him that he may use Muslim Brotherhood to cause internal divisions within the Arab world. That has led to the major conflicts. This conflict has, for example, when the Arab world decided to sanction against Qatar, Turkey took the Qatar side and they gave them material and what do you say, and emotional, I suppose support. They gave them much. They gave them much products. Turkey is a big supplier to Qatar. I think there are even Turkish troops in Qatar. They did a training together and all that. So even in the past, when there was a conflict, you could definitely see the lines that Turkey and Qatar are on one side, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE on the other side. And it again largely comes back to the Muslim Brotherhood issue. But recently,
Yeah, I just
things
wanted to
got
sorry, just on the Muslim Brotherhood. So Muslim Brotherhood are still relatively powerful where?
Muslim Brotherhood are still pretty popular in many Arab countries. To be honest, I think their popularity is probably still the most in Egypt because it's the most populous country in the Arab world, and it has like a sort of a historical. It has a history of basically fighting imperialism and all that. But they're powerful in. I think they're pretty powerful in Tunisia as well. They're somewhat popular in Saudi Arabia, and that's why they're very afraid of them. I very much doubt that they have a base in UAE or that type of thing. They used to be in Kuwait as well because that was I mean, Kuwait is much more of a democracy now, so much harder for them to develop. But to be honest, besides Muslim Brotherhood, you should also think of Hamas as well. Hamas is sort of in that tradition as well. So Saudi Arabia doesn't like that Turkey is such an eager supporter of Palestine when they're not. It makes them look bad, obviously. So yeah, no, Muslim Brotherhood is, they did win the only democratic election in Egypt, and technically speaking, so I would
On
assume
like
they are
2 days' notice.
for I believe for 9 months he was president Morsi or something.
Yeah.
Wow, that was crazy. But anyway, but recently things got a bit. There were reports that Saudi Arabia is basically playing an active role in boycotting the Turkish goods in Arab world, not just Saudi Arabia, because Turkey does a lot of exports to the Arab world. For example, interestingly, uh, there are two southern states in Turkey called Aintab and Hatay, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably mispronouncing these things. Um, and for just Hatay has said that every year they have $70 million of export to Saudi Arabia, just Saudi Arabia. So there is a significant economic cooperation between them. And during the last year, basically, Turkish the head of what do you say, the head of the business house of Saudi Arabia called for the boycott of Turkish goods. Number of supermarket franchises have stopped selling Turkish goods, or they have Turkish goods, but there are signs that they are not for sale. Don't touch them. Turkish businessmen report that they cannot get their products released in Saudi Arabia. They cannot go through customs. Saudi Arabia denies, by the way, any irregular behavior, but Turkish businessmen, Turkish business activists, they report that they are not able to get their goods through customs. It takes a couple of months for it to get released. Uh, no, and by the way, this is across in Saudi Arabia, and they say it's especially tough in African countries, Morocco, Tunisia, that type of countries. For example, apparently in the UAE, they have a slightly easier time. to in dealing with customs and dealing with officials. But in Africa and in Saudi Arabia, they are facing increasing difficulties. One of the editors of a major newspaper in Turkey said that there is a war going on between Saudi Arabia and Turkey, and it's happening in Southeast Asia, as well as Southwest Asia, as well as Africa. According to him, they are fighting in Libya. They are fighting in Mediterranean, Eastern Mediterranean. They are fighting in Persian Gulf. They are fighting in the Black Sea, as well as the Central Africa and Northern Africa against Turkey. So this is basically, as you see, this is a fight over the leadership of the Arab world, leadership of the Sunni world in many ways, because it includes Northern Africa, it includes Pakistan. We talked about the increasing shift of Pakistan towards Turkey as well, because Pakistan is actually, I don't, this is not something I am quite sure of, that that Muslim Brotherhood is popular in Pakistan or not. But generally speaking, the population is far more anti-imperialistic and anti-monarchistic than than many Gulf countries. So I would assume that Turkish policies are far more popular among the Pakistani population than Arab policies, standing up to the West and all that. So uh, what we see with this latest economic boycott of Turkish good is the latest step in this ongoing war between Turkey and Saudi Arabia over the leadership of the Sunni world and the Arab world.